Hey, what's up, guys? This is David Chase Taylor of 911truther.org. Today is September 9th of 2025. So, based on breaking news and events, it appears that CIA headquarters located beneath CERN at Lake Geneva in Switzerland is going to stage a coup d'etat in the United States or elsewhere around the world prior to, during, or shortly after the date of September 11th of 2025. Before I get into the particular scenarios which are blinking red, it's imperative to note the window of time here because September 11th has historical implications for the United States and elsewhere around the world. This numerology is inherent to the CIA in Switzerland, and therefore they execute terror attacks, coup d'etats, bombings, assassinations, and wars on this particular numerology, as evidenced by the fact that a coup d'etat was executed in the United States back on September 11th of 2001. And coincidentally, the date of September 11th, 2025 marks exactly 24 years since this particular date. The letter or the number 24 equates to the letter X, which is known as the international symbol of death. And so a massive DEFCON level event, 9/11 level attack, World War III, etc., is expected just prior to, during, or shortly after the date of September 11th, possibly September 11th in the United States, which would be September 12th elsewhere around the world. It's also imperative to note that the Kristallnacht attacks, which was basically a coup against the German government by the Zionist establishment in Germany, courtesy of their Jewish dictator Adolf Hitler, was executed on the reverse 9/11 numerology, which was 11/9 of 1938. It's highly likely that the CIA is going to stage horrific terror attacks, most likely CBRN in nature, that's chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear in nature, targeting Hebrew, Israeli, or Jewish related entities in Israel, the United States, or Europe surrounding this historic anniversary. So basically, shit is about to hit the fan in the next roughly 100 hours. And the notion that the CIA plans to stage World War III around this particular anniversary is evidenced by the fact that the construction of the Pentagon, which is a five angled building in Washington, D.C., which is symbolic of satanic worship with the five-pointed star. The construction was commenced on the date of September 11th of 1941, and therefore it's virtually certain that the CIA is going to construct a World War III narrative in the next 100 hours by staging mass attacks, terror events, or DEFCON level events around the world. Really briefly, I'm just going to list the most likely events slated for humanity in the next 100 hours. Firstly is a apocalyptic asteroid or comet strike. The CIA has begun to craft this narrative in the last few weeks of this particular near-Earth object called 3I/Atlas, which is an alleged comet that is allegedly circling space around, possibly in lower Earth orbit. And so some sort of apocalyptic man-made asteroid attack is expected, possibly targeting Japan, Tibet, Mexico, or Texas. Secondly, which is the most important, is that the CIA is going to neutralize U.S. President Donald J. Trump in some form or fashion. This may be a political assassination, an impeachment, possibly in respect to the ongoing Epstein scandal, a forced resignation, possibly in aftermath of threatening his family, some sort of death event, or even possibly an arrest for crimes he did not commit. But Donald J. Trump will not be President of the United States on September 12th of 2025. Thirdly, considering it is the anniversary of the September 11th attacks, these aerial kamikaze attacks targeting the Twin Towers, and the Pentagon allegedly were designed to foreshadow and set the precedent for nuclear 9/11 style attacks or CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological related nuclear attacks, and so some sort of major 9/11 style attack is expected. Fourthly is a Russian invasion. So the CIA is basically, because the CIA controls Russia just like they control the United States, they're going to execute a Russian invasion of one or more NATO countries, European Union countries, or countries in Europe prior to, on, or during, or shortly after the date of September 11th. Coincidentally, the Zapad 2025. So Zapad is this massive World War III war game that the last version of which was executed in 2021. There was 200,000 Russian armed forces in Belarus, and coincidentally, Zapad 2025, which I previously mentioned has been suspended for 4 years, is going to commence in Belarus again, starting on the date of September 12th of 2025, going on for 4 days. So the troops are currently being massed in Belarus, and so it's highly likely that the CIA is going to stage a Russian-backed or joint Russian-Belarusian armed forces-based attack or invasion of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Czech Republic, Poland, Germany, or other nations in the Central European region or countries bordering Belarus, Russia, or Ukraine. It's also, number 5 is that the CIA is planning on staging an Iranian attack on Israel. I just published a report today for an Iranian hyperglide missile attack called the Fatah 1. This is a massive, basically a cruise missile that the CIA plans to slam into a bunch of high-rise buildings in Israel to trigger World War III. So obviously some sort of nuclear attack or some sort of offensive by Iran targeting Israel, United States, or Europe is expected, specifically to trigger World War III. Number 6, the CIA is going to release a bioweapon by the date of September 11th. This may come in the form of a weaponized contagion-related terror attack that's blamed on some terror group, but it's most likely going to be a quote-unquote bioweapon that's released by China or Russia as pretext for a second global biological pandemic. As previously mentioned, considering the links of the number 9/11 and 11/9 in the Crystal Nux attacks to the Zionist establishment, it's virtually certain that the CIA is going to, in the next 100 hours, stage some sort of an attack or terror event targeting Hebrew, Jewish, or Israeli-related entities as pretext for a second global biological pandemic. This may be an embassy, a consulate, this may be a synagogue, this may be any entity related to the Zionist establishment, but this is they are the scapegoat. They are the and the genocide, the ongoing genocide in the Gaza Strip is specifically designed to provide a motive for an Iranian or Islamic terror attack targeting Jews or the state of Israel as pretext for a second global biological pandemic, which is number 7. So the CIA is basically plans to lock everything down and to stage a second global biological pandemic. I just published numerous reports for Yastina, what was it? It's skipping my mind, but I've published numerous reports for Ebola outbreaks, for smallpox outbreaks, even bubonic plague. So there's all these different diseases that the CIA can concoct, and considering the anniversary, it's highly likely that they're going to, and they've staged numerous outbreaks. So there's been, in the last week or two, there's been measles outbreaks, there's been plague outbreaks, there's been tuberculosis outbreaks. So the CIA is creating the narrative along with the ongoing grilling of U.S. Secretary of Health Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in Washington, D.C., and the debate over vaccines is that they're getting everybody ready for a second pandemic. Number 8, a CBRN event. So this is a chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear event. So this is going to be an act of war. This is going to be a terror attack, and this is going to basically trigger a official or unofficial declaration of war and or deployment of troops in respect to the ongoing crisis in Venezuela with the Trump administration. The CIA is trying to stage fentanyl-related attacks and then scapegoat them on Venezuela in order to trigger World War III, because if the United States attacks Venezuela, then Russia will attack the United States. Okay, so the CIA is planning some sort of Chinese offensive. This could be a full-scale attack or invasion of Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, U.S. military bases in the South Pacific, such as Guam, Hawaii, or Australia or New Zealand, possibly even Argentina, the Falkland Islands. But the CIA is planning a Chinese attack. I just published a report for today during the Apple event and the unveiling of the new iPhone and the other gadgets that they were planning on releasing a bioweapon at the Apple Park headquarters in Cupertino, California today on September 9th. So obviously in the aftermath of that attack, they're probably going to reload and try to attack somewhere else. That being said, a U.S. attack on Venezuela is expected. And a Pakistan-India exchange or North Korea-South Korea exchange is also highly likely. Number 10 is a force majeure. So in the event that I am able to, with this video, thwart a major terror attack or act of war or World War III or a second global biological pandemic, the CIA will resort to what is called a force majeure, which is an act of God, quote unquote, where they will stage an apocalyptic earthquake attack, a man-made tsunami attack, a volcanic eruption, tornado, hurricane, flood, or some sort of other tragic so-called act of God, specifically to trigger a mass death event, possibly resulting in a biological outbreak. Number 11 is obviously being the 11th, and obviously World War II ended on November 11th of 11/11 of 48, I believe. So basically World War III is likely to be declared on or around the date of September 11th, possibly in the aftermath of a NATO offensive against Russia, or a Russia offensive against NATO, or any of the aforementioned scenarios. Last but not least, in the event that the CIA is unable to stage a DEFCON level terror event, act of war, World War III, or a biological pandemic, they will likely resort to a celebrity blood sacrifice targeting one or more A-list celebrities, including but not limited to Pope Leo XIV, the Dalai Lama, Elon Musk, King Charles III, and or other members of the royal family, Donald Trump, as previously mentioned, or Trump family members, Tom Brady, Taylor Swift, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Conor McGregor, Aaron Rodgers, etc., etc., etc. That being said, the CIA is currently in the process of trying to trigger a race war in America. They had this man, an African-American man with allegedly 14 prior convictions, stab a woman on a mass transit, high-speed rail entity in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know if this is deep fake. I don't know if it's AI generated, but it's not real in the sense that I don't believe this person existed, and if they did, it's basically being used to try to foment a race war. And so I believe that the end game of this senseless attack, because who kills somebody on camera, is that the CIA is planning a revenge attack by a white male, or white males, plural, against a African-American celebrity that will most likely be some sort of an athlete, high-level athlete in college or professional, or it could be a retired professional athlete, such as Stephon Curry, Michael Jordan, Patrick Mahomes, etc., that type of level. So we saw this already. This previous narrative has been spun with the stabbing of Carmelo Anthony, who stabbed this white kid in the chest. And this is because these black attacks on white people, the CIA wants to execute a blood sacrifice, but in order to circumvent my reports for certain individuals, they are creating these horrific attacks, which may be real or may not be real, and then they're fomenting them in the media as political cover for these assassinations. So some sort of blood sacrifice targeting African American female athletes or male athletes is expected, especially surrounding this historic anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Lastly, in closing, I'm just going to really quick highlight some of the reports that I've published for the date of September 11th. It's imperative to note here that in the aftermath of these reports, the given target, or the given location will likely be altered in order to circumvent these reports. But I published reports as follows: a Chinese DF-27, DF-ZF hyperglide missile strike attack barrage targeting Los Angeles, namely skyscrapers; a Chinese special forces related attack targeting the largest newspaper in Asia, which is called the Yomiuri Shimbun. It's a newspaper in Tokyo. An ISIS, Boko Haram, al-Shabaab based attack targeting Baju or Lagos, Nigeria, as pretext for a second global biological pandemic. As previously mentioned, the Zapad World War III exercise in Belarus. So some sort of offensive by Russia or Belarusian soldiers targeting one or more countries in Europe is expected. We have currently ongoing former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro is currently on trial in Brasilia, Brazil, for an alleged coup d'etat plot targeting the Brazilian government back on January 8th of 2023. And in the aftermath of a verdict, whether guilty or not guilty, the CIA is planning to stage an escalating series of political violence, riots, and arson attacks across the state of Brazil, or country, excuse me, as pretext for martial law and possibly Islamic terror attacks or a Chinese invasion. But they plan to burn Brazil to the ground. I also published a report for what I'm calling an Obama standoff. So adjacent to the Obama Presidential Library, which the CIA has tried to stage basically a January 6 2.0 type attack on the Obama Presidential Library in Jackson Park of Chicago. And so adjacent to that is the Museum of Science and Industry, which the CIA plans to have a standoff with the federal government designed to sabotage the Trump presidency. The CIA is also plotting to stage some sort of major Bitcoin or cryptocurrency related crash, most likely in the aftermath of an alleged cyber heist by anonymous or rogue hackers in China, Iran, or Russia. And this may manifest itself in a cyber attack or cyber heist targeting the stock market or stock markets around the world, or targeting one or more major banks. In the event that the CIA passes up on a full-scale attack or invasion of a European country by the forces that are currently massing in Belarus, they will likely stage some sort of a Russian drone or avant-garde hypersonic missile strikes. We saw this back on January 22nd of 2022 when the United Kingdom hit the Russian Navy's Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Sevastopol, Ukraine, with 3 Shadow Storm or Storm Shadow missiles, these hypersonic missiles, and these things are about 13,000 pounds each. And so some sort of major strike, allegedly by Russia, most likely courtesy of the Israeli Navy, targeting NATO, European Union, or United States military installations or aircraft or ships or vessels, submarines, is expected. I also published a report for an Al-Qaeda Taliban-backed coup d'etat targeting the government of Pakistan to basically hijack their nuclear weapons as pretext for a Cuban-like missile crisis designed to trigger World War III, likely commencing with or concluding with nuclear attacks on Israel. And lastly, in what can be no other sign, or I should say, what is also a red flag that the CIA is planning major earth-changing events surrounding the September 11th anniversary. European Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen is going to be giving a State of the European Union speech in Strasbourg, France, on the date of Wednesday, September 10th of 2025. And so the CIA is basically putting her out in front of everybody. This speech on September 10th is coming on the heels of a tour of Europe. So over the last week, she's visited, I think, 7 or 8 countries on the Eastern Front with Russia. So she was in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Hungary, all these countries. And so she's basically rounding everybody up and getting everybody ready for this major war with Russia that does not need to happen. And so she's giving a speech on the 10th of September, and I believe that she's going to outline the reasons why we need to go to war with Russia. And so this is basically a precursor to these major events that are about ready to transpire in the United States, Europe, or around the world. That the Swiss CIA is planning to take the world to a very dark place surrounding this anniversary, and it's likely going to trigger World War III or a second global biological pandemic, and we're going to have utter chaos, and shit's basically going to hit the fan. So obviously, if any of the aforementioned events, political assassinations, blood sacrifices, or attacks or terror events, or natural disasters come to fruition in reality in the next 100 hours, obviously know that CIA headquarters located beneath CERN at Lake Geneva in Switzerland is orchestrating this, and while it's going to appear organic or grassroots in nature, know that it was planned by Switzerland, most likely executed on the ground via the Israeli Mossad, who are essentially the henchmen for Switzerland. And that's why they created Israel, is because that's to distance Switzerland from these events which the Mossad is executing. So obviously, if any of the aforementioned events come to fruition in reality, I kindly ask that you download this video and share it with local, state, and federal law enforcement, military, and intelligence officials, as well as with local, national, and international media outlets. Praying for a peaceful next 100 hours. Peace.